Hi, how's it going?
Hey, good. How have you been?
Doing well. Jesse Peterson.
Marcus Daley. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Hey, go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you.
We're excited to meet with you today, man. I know they've put a lot of work into this already, and I guess they kind of saved the best for last. So we're the best the companies have to give, right? Isn't that how that goes?
I sure hope so.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So, if I understand right, we're here to, I guess, work out this last clause that we have going, huh? Where it's just understanding, if I understand right, it's just subletting out of your store and different things like that.
Right. And so technically we have 200 locations. So this is the clause that we use in all of the different locations, but I understand that you guys had some issues with it. And so that's kind of why they called me in. So let me know what you're struggling with here on the clause. What's the impact?
Oh, perfect. So basically, it's just kind of, we don't know exactly how to work with this clause and get satellite stores to come in. We're just kind of afraid that we won't be able to get the financial backing that we need, and especially to get satellite stores that are interested to come in and really be the stores around discount if they're afraid that you guys could just like change everything you have going at like a moment's notice. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what we're afraid of. So I don't know if, because you have 200 store locations, so how does this clause work in all those other locations?
Right, Marcus, I'm glad that you asked, and I understand where you're coming from. So let me ease some of your fears on this.
Okay.
And just that typically how it works, because we're a chain location and we've worked with all of these other developers in our previous history, I think that surprisingly, and maybe from your perspective it's not this way, but let me just sort of kind of open your view to it, is that people find it actually kind of reassuring. I mean, you guys are professionals in what you do as a developer, and I don't assume to know anything really about real estate more than you do, but when it comes to retail, I know my stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the confidence that you're giving to us, is saying you guys know what you're doing in retail, and you're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that customers are coming through, we're getting the right foot traffic. And so honestly, I think that a lot of the developers have found it to be kind of comforting to know that we are in charge of that and that we have the flexibility to make things work, whatever it takes.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good to hear, because as you said, like, about retail much better than I do. I'm just about the real estate, the developing. And so how would you put this how would you describe that in a way, because we have this financial backer and he's worried about it and about this clause. How would you describe it to him if you were in our shoes and you had to talk to this developer, or not the developer, excuse me, the financial backer, and he's worried about this clause? How would you describe it to him?
Right. I think I would just let him know a big part of this is discount stores is known for being very profitable and also very attractive to satellite tenants. I know you mentioned that earlier. That was one of your concerns. Just in and of itself, knowing that you have a retailer that's a big retailer that's not just going to go under because something in this economy, in the Boston economy, has an issue, is really comforting. So, I mean, honestly, if I were in your position, I think just letting them know, listen, this is not in just any retailer. We're dealing with someone who understands what they're doing, and they need the flexibility to be able to make the changes necessary to keep up with the economy. Retail's kind of dog eat dog,
Yeah, definitely. We know. Awesome. And so I guess, and this was kind of just like my own question coming to this, what is it about like our store location that makes you guys want to work with us? What is it that's attractive about it? Because you guys have like 200 other locations. So what is it about this one that really interests you?
Sure. We haven't opened a location in Boston yet, so this will be our first location in Boston, which we're really excited about. It's a cool area. Obviously, your guys' location is nice. It's next to the highway, which is something that I benefit. I drove by it earlier this morning on the way, and I like that. I think that it's a good location. We've done a lot of work with you guys already. As far as all of the other negotiations that have gone into this, like this is just kind of like the cherry on top. And so it's definitely appealing because of that. I know that you guys are a great company to work with, and I trust that you guys will be able to see our point of view and help work out whatever the issues are so that you guys can have a great corner store location.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what we're looking for. So I guess when it just comes to this clause, now that I feel like I understand better and where things are going, if we just we can have this clause as is, but just put in there like if problems come up, we just talk about it at a later date. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's acceptable in some ways. I just don't think that we're really going to run into problems as far as, if you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I just don't foresee any issues in the future. I don't think that we should kind of let a perceived problem in the future rule out the history of the past of what has already worked really well.
Yeah, and I mean, if there are no problems, then the clause never even comes up, though. Where it's just like, if there's no problems, then we don't ever have to talk about it. And if there is, there's just a clause that says we'll talk about it later. I think that'll just make my superiors happy and rest assured, like, oh, there's no problem, but if there is, we can talk about it later. And so, I don't know, discounts great store, done all these great things. I don't really perceive there being a problem. I just kind of want it more for like my superiors to like breathe a sigh of relief,
Right. Yeah, I think that could potentially be acceptable.
Okay.
As you were talking, there was one other thing that I failed to mention at the beginning, but that I wanted to discuss in this meeting. And that's the fact that before coming in, they kind of briefed me on the fact that they've signed it for 25-year lease, which to me is just kind of far-fetched. I mean, we live in a society where normally marriages don't last more than 5 years, and so the thought of being tied down for 25 years to me just feels like a terrible idea. Just in the fact that we don't know where the economy is going, it's not really what we typically do in our business model. And so typically what we stick towards is more of a 5-year lease. And we found that works a little bit better for us.
Really interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Some marriages don't even last longer than a day, which is crazy. Okay, 5 years. So for our financial backer to really want to back us up, it would have to be around 10 years. And so is there any way we could possibly, I don't know, incentivize you guys to stay for longer than, or for about 10 years, or maybe we have it in there where it's like you stay for 5 years, and if it's attractive, you stay for another 5 years, or how would you like to go about it? Because that's just like the pickle I'm stuck in, where he really wants 10 years. And so is there any way we can like work something out in that way?
Right. I mean, Marcus, just to be frank with you, it's going to be a hard sell for me to get them to go for 10 years, just because typically what we do is the 5 years. It's worked really well. We don't want to be stuck in a situation where, obviously this is worst case scenario, but I mean, you were joking about some marriages don't last longer than a day. I mean, nobody, I think, going into it ever imagines that it's going to end the next day. And for us, I mean, obviously it's a different realm, but we're not planning on turning on the lights today and then shutting them off tomorrow and leaving. It just financially doesn't make a lot of sense. But we do understand that sometimes certain locations don't take well to certain retail. And if for whatever reason Boston is that way, we don't want to be stuck in twice the amount of lease when really all we needed was just 5 years to figure that out. And then if things go well, we plan on staying a long time, but we need that ability to say, okay, there's an out for us, and I don't want to get stuck trying to find an assignee for an additional 5 years if we need to peace out, kind of thing.
That is fair. That is true. As you were talking, just some ideas that popped in my head. Tell me what you think about it. And you kind of brought this up towards the end of your statement where you said finding an assignee. So my first thought was like, yeah, if you stay for 5 years, you don't like it, maybe you help us find someone to come take your place. I don't know if that sounds good to you or not. But you guys are a very successful company, so maybe you have ties with other people in your same industry who come in and take your place. Maybe not. I don't know. That's my first idea on it. Does that sound appealing to you, or?
Right, and I totally see where you're coming from as wanting kind of that stability, but sort of in my mind, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do 5 years, and then if you guys are potentially just going to hand that off to somebody afterwards anyway, to a different company as an assignee, whereas, they're going to go through us. I mean, financially for you guys, that doesn't even make a whole lot of sense.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll be making money off the deal because we'll potentially give them a higher rate than you guys are giving us on the lease. So,
yeah, just spitballing ideas.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
Interesting. So, in your dream scenario, if I understand it right, you have it for 5 years. If things don't work out, you leave. If it's great, you stay.
Yeah.
If this has worked in all these other locations, then, and if in the clause we've already worked out, if there's problems, we'll talk about it later. you know, if we get to the 5-year mark and you guys want to pull out, we can just talk about it then. We just add that in where it's just like, we just talk about it. If you guys want out, you can get out. And I think it makes sense for us to wait these 5 years and see where it goes.
Right.
So we just put it in there where it's just like, we'll just talk about it. Maybe not like an option for you to just straight up get up and go, but where we just sit down and talk about it at least before we go.
Sure. I mean, that seems reasonable to me. I mean, let me ask you this. Are you guys going to have, I know you mentioned your financing company. Are you guys going to have issues as far as that goes under a 5-year? Because I don't want to sign something and then come back later and find out the project wasn't even built because it wasn't financed.
I don't know for certain how they'll feel about it. We don't have a whole lot of power here, you know. We're stuck with the stipulation. We'll try to work something out. But an idea that crossed my mind, if you guys work with all these other locations and you guys have different backers and you know the real estate people who do that, if you know any other financial backer that's more flexible on these kind of things, that knows your business and how this works, if you want to get them in contact with us, we'd be more than happy to work with them too. If it means getting you guys into this store, into this project we have going, then we're willing to work with it.
Absolutely. I mean, we have some great guys in finance. That's not really my gig, but I can definitely set you guys up in contact with them and see some of the deals that they've worked out in the past. So that's something that you guys are going to feel more comfortable with.
You know, if that's what we have to do, that's what we'll do. So
great. Time.
Okay.